everything that I believed in my life was a lie.
I love the sound of this. This has like a West Coast, like a Roger Troutman, real G-Funk vibe bounce to it. What's this song about? What were you trying to accomplish with Now I Know?
And that story, Now I Know, is essentially how, you know, you can follow the trajectory of the lyrics, but I start out saying like, everything I believed in my life was a lie, like up to this point. And you notice how like as you get older, every year you get older, you realize something about the year past that you had, you know, formerly believed, and now things are changing. And I was just talking about that progression of growing up and seeing the world differently. And it starts out very innocent, you know, from Santa Claus, you know, starting there as a kid to evolving all the way into like much more deep and darker issues, you know, throughout. So the story just kind of does this throughout the whole record. And, you know, I think that was you know, I'm proud of that writing, like to see it project that way.
You know, one of the things, again, when we talk about making people uncomfortable, pushing people out of the comfort zone, the first verse at the end, thought the world was all right. It's funny, I even thought Jesus was white. Is a line that I'm sure is going to stand out to many. Explain this line and why you ended on that, like, you know what I'm saying? When you chose, it's always the first line that you use and the last that.
Right.
Talk about this lyric.
I even thought that Jesus was white. It's true. It just, you know, a lot of my lyrics come from conversations with people and just like, you know, those aha moments. And I remember I was somewhere, I was like up in like rural Pennsylvania because I was out there doing some work. And I looked on the wall and there was like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus, like, you know, the Sideways, you know, everyone's seen that. And I was just like, wait a second. I was like, this dude was in the Middle East. Like, there's no way this dude looked like that. You know, and then a conversation sparked up and it was like, yeah, most cultures depict Jesus in whatever skin color and hair type that is common to them. And, you know, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus just is not true. Like, it's a myth. But that's oftentimes a perspective that we have because a lot of people who brought Christianity were, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, and you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those kind of funny lines, you know, but there's some truth behind it, like.
And even in the Bible, he's not described.
No, he's described as having woolly hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like woolly hair, and you're blonde. Like, it's not happening. So yeah, just think someone in Jerusalem and in Israel, the skin tone over there is like caramel, you know what I'm saying? But probably a darker skinned savior.
You touch on your parents' relationship. One, you know, used to believe my dad when he said he'd come to my games. And then, you know, finding out the story of how you were born and that things more make sense.
Right.
Do you care to share that story with us, the real life story of with your dad and your mom?
Yeah, I gotta be careful because I don't want my mom finding this and being like, you son of a. No, she wouldn't. She loves me.
You know.
But yeah, like I remember my mom, man, it was funny. My mom caught me, and you know, my mom caught me having sex when I was in high school. And I was sure she was going to kill me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I remember she came by the door, the room I was in, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think my mom saw me. And through the door, she goes, I did, come out here. And I was like, ah! Put on my clothes, you know, I go out the room. And she just like, yeah, I swore my life was over. And she was like, all right, don't do it again. Went back to her room, went to bed, because she worked a night shift. So she would sleep during the day. And I was like, why didn't you go crazy on me? You know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't you lose it? And, you know, at another point in time, her just sharing her life and her experiences with me, and like, you know, she was able to have sympathy and compassion for me. And you know, to not belittle me or hurt me in my struggle or my failure, you know what I mean? And so I just thought that was super dope, but it started to make sense the older I got. Like, that's why she was so gracious with me, you know, because she's not perfect, but that's what makes her so dope, you know?